From the medicines we put in our bodies, to the brakes on our cars, to the toys our children play with, many of us take for granted that the products we use on a daily basis are safe and effective. While safety is a top priority for product manufacturers, designers, and retailers, defects and design flaws can occur, making products dangerous. And when consumers are injured by a product, there is a set of laws that governs whether or not they are entitled to compensation. It's a concept known as products liability law.
Although there are some differences state to state, generally speaking, there are three types of liability in the context of products liability. There's manufacturing defect, design defect, and marketing defect. Manufacturing defect is where in the actual assembly of the product there was some deviation, some error from the way it was designed to be made. And that error or omission is what causes the injury. An example would be a car, which during its assembly, an error was made in putting it together. Design defect, that is where the design itself is too dangerous. We see toys which have lead paint on them, and the product was designed to be painted with this lead paint, and the lead can make children sick. That's a design defect. A marketing defect, that is where the product is not adequately labeled to inform the user, the consumer, what the dangers are. We've seen foods which are tainted with E. coli.
Legal professionals agree that product liability law is an essential part of protecting Americans, but say the general public does not realize how much of an impact it really has on making our lives safer and the environment cleaner.
There are a number of products which have either been made safer or have been recalled altogether as a result of the impact of products liability law. Asbestos, silica-based products, pharmaceutical drugs, defects in the design or manufacture of automobiles. These are all types of products which seriously injured and in some instances killed people, ordinary consumers who were not aware of the dangers that products liability law, more than anything else, both brought to the public's attention and the government's attention, and certainly the manufacturer's attention about the need to make these products safe.
Product liability law holds any or all parties along the chain of manufacturing responsible for the injuries caused by their products. Consumer protection advocates believe strongly that Americans need to understand their legal rights.
People need to know their legal rights with respect to the products that enter their environment, especially products that they breathe, or products that they eat, or products that they swallow, because those products can have devastating effects, both on them and on their families. And they can't rely on the government to make it safe, because number one, I think most people understand that government bodies are not always the most efficient means of determining what is safe and what is not. We've seen countless drugs which had FDA approval which wound up making people very sick, Vioxx being a very recent example of that. And also because a number of drugs, especially over-the-counter type drugs, or what are known as dietary supplements to be more precise, are not even subject to FDA approval. Again, it comes back to the manufacturer who has stake in selling that drug and therefore the responsibility in doing the rigorous investigation and testing to make it safe.
One case of product liability that has received significant attention involves mesothelioma, a deadly cancer. For decades, it has been known that exposure to asbestos causes the disease. Many manufacturers knew that asbestos was harmful, but continued to produce and sell asbestos products anyway. Today, there are laws to protect victims from asbestos exposure and hold manufacturers responsible for their actions.
Products liability law was in place before government regulation was in place. Government regulation followed products liability law. Once manufacturers could be held liable, not just to their own employees for the dangers in the workplace that make them sick, but to the consumer who is made sick from a product that they have put out into the stream of commerce. Manufacturers had to be mindful of the legal liability that can result if the product is not made reasonably safe and it's not carrying an appropriate warning. We see this with all kinds of products that we no longer see in our everyday environment as a result of products liability law, such as asbestos products, products containing chemical toxins like benzene and toluene, drugs which were at one time sold without considerable testing or adequate labeling.
Simon, Eddins and Greenstone, or the SEG Law firm based in Dallas, Texas, specializes in protecting the rights of those with serious diseases such as mesothelioma or leukemia caused by hazardous and wrongful exposure to asbestos or benzene, a Class A carcinogen. SEG Law also fights the pharmaceutical industry on behalf of those harmed by dangerous prescriptions.
I think the most important aspect of products liability law that people should appreciate is how crucial products liability law has been historically and continues to this day in making products safer. People may have impressions about what lawyers do, and that includes the notion of the ambulance chaser and the frivolous lawsuit. There's nothing frivolous about a person dying of asbestos exposure, to be sure. There's nothing frivolous about a person who has a heart attack or a stroke as a result of taking a dangerous prescription drug, which was not adequately warned. It's products liability law that helps make those products safer on the front end and helps, at least after the fact, a person recoup their losses, frankly, from what they should have been told by the manufacturer on the front end.
If you feel you have a potential product liability case, you need to know your rights. The SEG Law firm has an experienced team of lawyers dedicated to providing quality legal representation to victims of preventable tragedies.
Our law firm is a firm that prides itself not just on our ability to take, appropriately prepare, and try lawsuits, but the fact that we have been doing this as individual parts before we even came together as a firm for many, many years. And so what we bring together are years of experience in trying to help people with the most serious, most devastating types of health problems caused by their environment. People should trust the law firm of Simon, Eddins and Greenstone because of its proven track record, because we are the types of lawyers that prepare and try your cases if you have devastating health problems and the manufacturer or seller of the particular product will not take responsibility for it as they should. We are not the firm that groups your case with other cases and doesn't give you the individual attention you expect. Your case is the most important case in your life, and we treat it that way.
If you have been seriously injured from a dangerous product, visit seglaw.com or call 1-866-632-7574, helping people with complex legal disputes.